You can't spell assassination without Assassin's Creed, or something along those lines, and that is exactly what you'll find in every one of these games, from the very first one to all the spin-offs, DLCs, and latest releases. Assassinations are always front and center. Some of them stick with you, like the iconic assassinations of Charles Lee or Haytham Kenway, while others, well, they're pretty forgettable. So I got this idea, why not go over my personal favorite assassinations from all the Assassin's Creed games? I picked my top 15 and I'm going to rank them. Now, because there's literally hundreds of assassinations in this franchise, seeing 15th place might seem low, but it's actually pretty impressive. Just keep that in mind. Now, just real quick, I don't often do this, but I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers. That's pretty much every YouTuber's goal, and I would appreciate it if you would consider subscribing if you want. You don't have to, but it will help me out quite a lot. Anyway, with all of that said, let's get into the best assassinations in Assassin's Creed. Okay, let's start off my personal top 15 assassinations with a character that's very, how would you say, overlooked. And that is the assassination of Vali Cel Tradat. Now, his name is quite tricky to pronounce, so I'm just going to say it how I see it. Anyway, a lot of you would not recognize this character as he's not a main villain or an important character in the lore at all. But Vali's whole character is very interesting, and that's because he was a rogue assassin, meaning he had turned against the Brotherhood. And his reasonings are because, well, the assassins made peace with the Ottomans, which meant he felt betrayed. You see, the Ottomans had humiliated his people, taken over his homeland of Wallachia and killed his secret idol Vlad Tepes. And driven by a need for revenge, he joined the Templars to go after both the Assassins and the Ottomans. Now, it is kind of unfortunate that his moment in Assassin's Creed Revelations is very brief, but apart from that, his overall character is an interesting one, as he's not exactly a slouch by any means. In fact, he was very skilled. Even Ezio was very cautious when dealing with such a character. You know, thinking of it now, since Assassin's Creed Revelations highlights the Turks in a positive manner, a character such as Vali could perhaps present a valid criticism that assassins could be seen as the villains. That goes back to the whole question that's asked quite a lot. Are the assassins really the bad guys? And this particular assassination of Vali is an intriguing idea. Oh, and here's a fun fact. The second part of his name, Cel Tradat, means the betrayed in Romanian. I thought that was pretty interesting to know. Now, this particular character is more of a personal and satisfying one, and this comes in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's not really a traditional assassination as evident by this game being a lot different, but Chrysis is a character I'm sure we all found to be very annoying and deserved to die, especially with how evil she truly was. She was a priestess of Hera, aka Juno, and a member of the cult of Cosmos all in one. Some of the reasons why she makes it a pretty satisfying assassination is, for one, kidnapping Marine's baby, who she raised to serve the cult. She pretty much indoctrinated the child, teaching that the world is full of pain. She also forced a priest named Maidon to cut out his own tongue. She accused a lot of people of wrongdoings even though they were right. She had a weird obsession with Cassandra and her bloodline. She set a shrine on fire, forcing you to either save a literal baby from being burned alive or chase after her. Oh, and even if you decided to save the baby, she still dies, so if any of you watching went after her instead of saving that baby, shame on you. So yeah, her descent into just evil was marked by manipulation, ruthless control, and a fanatical belief system that justified her cool actions. You know, she was just a pain in the ass to chase after in the game, and is definitely the most satisfying cult of Cosmos kill by far. I think the way she died was probably the most fitting for a character such as her. Okay, now moving on from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, let's take a trip to Assassin's Creed Unity and go over a character whose assassination is one that I found to be quite enjoyable, especially because of the black box mission surrounding it. You see, the thing with Unity is the death corridors are not exactly the best. I don't know about you, but the whole flashback or looking into the memories thing was not it. I prefer the traditional approach of talking to your target during death, but Touche's overall assassination mission was one of the best in the game in my opinion. He was a member of the Templar Order during the French Revolution and is one of the targets we take out during the story of the game. We don't really meet him at all in the game physically, but the one moment we do is the one moment the game really shines. So it takes place during a public execution, which, let me tell you, was a stupid event, considering the prisoners were imprisoned for trying to feed their families by stealing bread. Touche is kind of similar to the person I talked about previously, being Chrysis, in that both characters have just pure evil intentions, and that's literally it. The whole concept of this mission where you can break into a cell and disguise yourself as a prisoner was cleverly done. You would just break free and assassinate Touche with your hidden blade before anybody could really react. This assassination is just an overall great one because of the opportunities, whether it's releasing food so NPCs will crowd around the platform, which lets you get closer to the target, or steal the jail cell key and disguise as a prisoner, or if you wanted to, just do the complete opposite and go guns blazing. It's just a great black box mission that fits this character very well. Medunamun's assassination in Assassin's Creed Origins is, I'd say, underrated if anything, because it happens almost near the start of the game and is often forgotten about for quite a while, which is why I feel like it needs to be talked about a lot more. The great thing about Assassin's Creed Origins is the memory corridors and how often at times brutal they can be, especially with somebody like Bayek taking down targets, and Medunamun's assassination is definitely that. The whole overall emotional impact of that scene was handled incredibly well by the writers of the game and Abu Bakr Salim, who voices Bayek. You know, there's only a few assassinations in this game that really compare to the raw emotion in that minute and a half where a fully enraged and vengeful Bayek confronts Medunamun, and one of them is later in this video. Now sure, the actual mission to assassinate him was a bit basic. This assassination being the highlight of the gameplay trailer at E3 probably was the reason why they made it so basic. He's just there in a random room surrounded by poorly placed guards. It's nothing special, but it's a memory corridor where he gives off a very terrifying and creepy speech about how Bayek could not save his son is where it truly shines.
We thought you were dead. You could not even save your own son. You are no one. Bayek of nothing. Father to nobody!
Even seeing Medunamun transform into Kemu and the way it's choreographed is 10 out of 10. And then there's that ending where Bayek smashes his head with the apple multiple times, which shows you the more brutal side of Bayek. It's just an overall 10 out of 10 assassination, and that's mainly due to the memory corridor and how creepy it was. This assassination is a more recent one. In fact, it's the most recent one in the series, and it comes in Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now, the assassination of gone with is a character named Fazil. This particular character was a member of the Order of Ancients, and in Mirage, he pretty much experimented on human beings and used them as test subjects to try and unveil secrets about Eastern knowledge or something along those lines. His assassination mission, in my opinion, is probably my favorite in this game, alongside the treasure assassination, which to be honest does kind of say a lot about this game. It's that insidious nature of Fazil's actions that makes hunting him down all the more satisfying. The assassination mission kicks off at the Great Symposium, which is this massive academic building. The clue finding part was key, and it was a clever gameplay mechanic. I'd say black box missions are my favorite type of assassination mission because of the amount of opportunities you can take, whether it's finding a key from a gardener, bribing for a passcode, or sneaking past guards. It's that flexibility that allows you to approach the mission in a way that suits your playstyle. Even the outfit that you receive, I actually like it quite a lot. Then there's the actual assassination, which reminded me a lot of the Asylum mission in Syndicate. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they took some elements from Syndicate's mission and introduced it in this assassination. We're just sitting there as he goes on about knowledge is power and some bullshit, and then we assassinate him with a hidden blade. One thing that did kind of irk me was how we entered the mission with so many guards watching over Fazil, and once we assassinated him, they just vanished into thin air. It kind of breaks the immersion, a word that I find cringe to use. Now, these next assassinations from this point on in the video are ones that we don't recognize and are more well-known characters. And for this particular assassination, that would belong to Bartholomew Roberts from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Now, in the game, he's a sage in the Caribbean, but in real life, historians often say he's the most successful pirate in the golden age of piracy, simply because of how many ships he had taken. I absolutely love the idea of sages in this franchise, and it is a shame that we don't really see them anymore. Check out my video if you have not explaining the sages. Anyway, Roberts in Black Flag was one of my favorite standout characters, and his assassination, or rather his entire storyline leading up to his assassination, is a top contender for the best narrative section in this entire game. You know, it's the idea of Roberts at first being a friend, and then unexpectedly betraying us as a sage is for sure a great plot twist. Even the idea of the observatory, it all makes his character as a whole add up even more, and it's a great addition to already add on to the whole Assassins versus Templar thing going on. Roberts to me is for sure one of the most fascinating villains in this series because he embodies the pirate Edward always wanted to be. Throughout the game, he manipulates Edward just to get to the observatory, which really amps up the hatred we feel towards him. And then once we actually assassinate him, the memory corridor is just as good, as Robert tells Edward to burn his body so no Templars can find it or use it, which makes the most sense considering he was a sage. So yeah, Black Flag definitely has a lot of great moments, and this is for sure one of them. This next assassination is the first of, well, only one in this video that features a modern day character, and that's the character of Warren Vidic. Now, I've said so many times, in fact I feel like a parrot repeating myself, that Assassin's Creed 3 has the best modern day in this franchise, and the mission where we infiltrate Abstergo to rescue William Miles is, in my opinion, at least a top 2 or top 3 missions in the modern day period. When it comes to Warren Vidic, a character who's been a pain in our ass since Assassin's Creed 1, his assassination is a very satisfying one, and I'm glad it happened the way it did. Vidic is involved involvement in the capture and manipulation of Desmond Miles adds a personal vendetta to his assassination, making it all the more satisfying for us who have followed the story since the beginning. He wanted to trade Desmond's Apple of Eden in exchange for William Miles, but of course instead we stormed the facility as Desmond, beat the living shit out of everybody in our path by using the skills we gained from the memories of past assassins, and used the apple itself to turn Vidic's own guards against him and end his life. If anything, it's a more ironic way of dying, considering Warren Vidic's obsession with the apple, only to be killed by its influence. So yeah, overall the assassination of Warren Vidic for sure was a high point in the modern day, and is one of the cooler looking assassinations in the series. Okay, now next up we have perhaps a candidate for the most annoying character in all of Assassin's Creed. And no, it's not Sigurd, he's definitely up there though. But instead it's Vieri De Pazzi from Assassin's Creed 2. Now if you know about this character and the assassination, then you would know how satisfying it was to see Ezio do what he did. So as a member of the Pazzi family, Vieri is pretty much directly responsible for the execution of Ezio's father and brothers, setting Ezio on his path as an assassin. The mission to take down Vieri is set in a pretty strange town of San Gimignano, and it ends with a rooftop assassination. Now this rooftop assassination was kind of insane. Quite literally, Ezio's assassin code or sense of morality goes out the window, and we see a crazier side of Ezio.
Pezzo di merda! Vorrei solo che avessi sofferto di più! Hai avuto la fine che meritavi!
I love the part where Mario says to Ezio after the assassination, "You are not Vieri, do not become him," which can just teach you a basic ideology to become a better human because, let's face it, Vieri was a scumbag. You know, deep down, the reason I love this assassination is because it's so different. We're used to seeing targets confess or talk during their last moments, but no, not Vieri, he just mocked the idea of spilling his guts. He went out with defiance. That's what made his death really stand out for me. This is a character I've already talked about in depth in another video that I've made that focuses specifically on Abbas Sofian, so I won't go too much into this part in the video. But just know Abbas Sofian's assassination was a monumental one for the Levantine Brotherhood, and even for an aging Altair. So as a former friend turned traitor, Abbas's actions have a personal impact on Altair. His betrayal and seizure of control in Masyaf led to a period of turmoil and corruption within the Brotherhood. The actual mission to confront Abbas is charged with a kind of sense of reclaiming lost honor and justice. As I said, Abbas's death marks the end of a dark chapter in the Brotherhood's history, and the beginning of a renewed commitment to their ideals. It's kind of crazy to think that Abbas Sofian was a character that pretty much disliked Altair out of pure spite, and he carried that hatred until his very last breath. So yeah, check out my video on Abbas Sofian if you have not to see a full breakdown of his character. This person right here is the definition of missed opportunity. When we think of the villains in Assassin's Creed, we think of the Charles Lees, the Cesare Borgias, the Al-Mualims and whatnot. One character that I personally also put into this category is Maxwell Roth, a character who deserved to be the main villain, or at least have a much more impactful role in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now I love the assassination mission that focused on taking him out because it was so in-depth and it wasn't just a one-off mission. We learned so much about him and his character, especially with Jacob. The best way to describe his assassination is a blend of theatricality and tragedy. We knew that he was the leader of the Blighters and was just an unpredictable antagonist. You know, he reminded me a lot of the Joker, and how almost identical his personality and motives were to the Joker. You quite literally did not know what his next move was going to be. His relationship with Jacob Frye is pretty complex, marked by a shared sense of rebellion but divided by their methods. That mission to take down Roth is a dramatic one, set in the middle of a fiery inferno in a theatre, and then there's the memory corridor which involves him and Jacob. It's just chef's kiss, quite literally. They kissed. Make of that what you will. But yeah, he's a character that deserved to have a much larger role in Syndicate, especially when you compare him to somebody as shit as Crawford Starrick. Now this particular assassination and character might be a surprise to see this high up in this video, especially considering we know little of who this person is, and that is the assassination of Rudjek in Assassin's Creed Origins. I think it's self-explanatory as to why he's here in the video, surrounded by the likes of great villains. It's simply because of that Oscar-worthy performance by Abu Bakr Salim aka Bayek. Matter of fact, I have to play it for the one time, and then I'll talk a bit about it.
We will find you. We will find you. In your sleep! Sleep? I never sleep. I just wait in the shadows, and I will kill you all. Everyone who sniffed the air that day in Siwa!
So yeah, Rudjek, aka the Heron, is one of the first targets in Assassin's Creed Origins. In fact, I think he is the first, and his death marks a very important moment in Bayek's journey of vengeance. Rudjek's involvement in the death of Bayek's son, Kenway, sets the stage for the entire game. The memory corridor scene that follows is literally haunting, as we see an anger-induced and passionate Bayek put on one of the best performances in this franchise. The part in the speech where he says he never sleeps, he just waits in the shadows, and he will kill everybody who sniffed the air that day in Siwa and whatnot is just 10 out of 10. So yeah, the reason Rudjek is here in the video is purely based on that memory corridor and memory corridor alone. It would have been cool to see a kind of mission involving him, but I guess beggars cannot be choosers. Now, coming into the top 4 of the best assassinations in Assassin's Creed, I've gone with a character that we all love even though he's portrayed as the bad guy, and that is Haytham Kenway. Now, Haytham's assassination in Assassin's Creed 3 is one of the most emotionally charged moments in the franchise. As Connor's father, Haytham represents the personal conflict that goes beyond the traditional Assassins versus Templar conflict. We know throughout the game the relationship is kind of marked by mutual respect and often at times, ideological clashes. Now, I've read the Assassin's Creed Forsaken novel, and if you have also read that novel, then you know how entirely tragic Haytham's life was, and that's a key reason why his actual assassination hits quite hard, not just for the player but for Connor too. You can even see that Connor regrets killing Haytham when he reads his journal. You could also see in the Davenport Manor assassination wall, Connor writes that he made a mistake on Haytham's picture. Now, going back to the actual assassination, that fight sequence was pretty intense, both physically and mostly emotionally, and it ended in a moment of silence as Haytham acknowledges his son's determination. His death was not just the end of a pretty dangerous enemy, but the tragic ending of a father-son relationship strained by opposing beliefs, which is what elevates this assassination so much more than what it truly is. It's for sure a top 3 or 4 assassinations in this franchise. Now, staying on the topic of Assassin's Creed 3, there's another character who's just as memorable as Haytham Kenway, and his assassination was also as memorable, and that character's name is Charles Lee.
Give me Lee!
This assassination was so deeply personal for Connor. Throughout the game, Charles Lee is portrayed as a pretty conflicting antagonist, one who believes in the Templar cause and sees himself as a savior of the colonies. His involvement in the death of Connor's mother and the persecution of his people makes the final showdown inevitable. It's for sure one of the best directed sequences in all of Assassin's Creed, because we see them both injured and very wounded. Then the sharing of the drink with each other was so well done, because Lee knew he was done for. He couldn't run any longer, so he just accepted his fate. I love that you can sense that there was a sense of respect for both characters between each other. The fact that Connor chased Lee for this long and Lee in a way looks impressed at how resilient of a man Connor is quite impressive. If anything, it's also a moment that humanizes both Connor and Lee and underscores the tragic nature of their rivalry. Also, that switch up from Charles Lee from a lapdog to one of the most evil and sinister villains in all of Assassin's Creed is a switch up that nobody expected, and it is definitely a well written one. It's pretty sad to think that the writing of what we had back then is nowhere on the level of what it is now. But that's a whole topic for an entirely different video. The assassination of Cesare Borgia is such an iconic one that even Ezio in Revelations made a whole ass song based on it.
Cesare, oh Cesare, a man of great depravity, believed himself immortal till he had a date with gravity.
Cesare Borgia is a villain who perfectly personifies ambition and ruthlessness, making his assassination in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood pretty satisfying. As the main villain of Brotherhood, Cesare's actions throughout the game, from his conquest of Rome to his personal vendettas, paint him as one of the better villains by far. Well, let's ignore the whole incest thing, that's some pretty messed up stuff. The assassination mission itself was pretty fun, a bit tedious, I won't lie, but it's satisfying as heck when you put that final blade into him. Oh, and I love the memory corridor, especially the part where he says, "You cannot murder me, no man can kill me," or something along those lines. And he's right, so instead of us murdering him, he had a date with gravity. You know, thinking of it now, I remember seeing Cesare Borgia in the Brotherhood trailer all those years ago, and I was having a strong hatred for him. And then when Brotherhood was released, the game literally starts off with him walking into Monteriggioni and murdering Mario, which made me hate him even more. So if anything, his death was very satisfying, and a great villain such as Cesare Borgia deserved a memorable assassination, which he indeed got. So yeah, second place is for sure Cesare Borgia. The greatest assassination still to this date is Al-Mualim from Assassin's Creed 1. Pretty hilarious to think that the first ever villain in this franchise is still the most memorable. Well, in my opinion, that is. I would have put Flavius from Assassin's Creed Origins as number 1 because he's also very memorable. That was a joke, by the way. He might be the worst villain in the entire franchise. Anyway, back to Al-Mualim. As a mentor of the Brotherhood during the time of the Crusades, he's a figure that first commands respect and loyalty. However, as we delve deeper into the story in Assassin's Creed 1, we uncover his betrayal. Al-Mualim's secret alliance with the Templars and his ambition to control the Apple of Eden reveals a man that's corrupted by power. You know, I've seen a lot of betrayals in this series, but none hit as hard as Al-Mualim in the first game. It was a game changer that set up the tone for everything that followed. What made that betrayal so impactful was the build-up. Think about it. We spent the whole game eliminating the 9 targets that he assigned us, believing we were fighting for the greater good. He was our mentor, the one who trained us and showed us the ropes. So trusting him was a no-brainer. So when he revealed his true nature, it kind of felt like a punch to the gut. The legendary confrontation between Al-Mualim and Altair in the gardens of Masyaf is a masterclass in storytelling and tension. A lot of villains in Assassin's Creed are very one-dimensional, but no, not Al-Mualim. He genuinely believed his actions were for the greater good. To him, the end justifies the means, and he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve his goals. So taking him down was such an iconic moment as it changed everything after. Revelations also added a lot of lore to it, which just shows how important his death truly was. So there you have it. Those are my personal favourite assassinations in all of Assassin's Creed. I believe there were around 15 I talked about in this video, so that is quite a lot of assassinations. Let me know what your favourite assassination was in this franchise. And if you say Flavius, you're getting exiled to the Netherrealm. Let's hope Assassin's Creed Shadows will give us some good assassinations too. Here's to hoping. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one.